Yep, this will be a tough game for Michigan State. 18-point underdogs, but a win here would change the program. And a win here isn't a 0% chance. Here's what they reasonably have to do to fly home with that victory.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by Mazda. Just like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. It's Mazda. Move and be moved. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, how on earth are we all doing as we head into another weekend, another game day here for our Michigan State Spartans? Before we go any further, guys, just want to thank you for making Locked On Spartans your first listen every single day and making us part of your game week ritual right here at the Locked On Podcast Network. Please rate, review, subscribe, comment below. The number one key Michigan State has to do in order to give themselves a chance Saturday night, Sunday morning, whatever you want to classify this game time as, against the Trojans here. Now, it's not going to be all football. At the very end, we will get into the Big Ten basketball schedule being dropped for our hardwood Michigan State Spartans. But yes, segment 1, segment 2, all about this game. So let's just get right into it right now because if the team needs any more bulletin board material, and I don't suspect they do need any more of that, given by whether it's its own fan base, whether it's the media, some combination of both, I'll join the party. Before I go any further and talk about Michigan State's path to victory, do I think MSU wins this game? Maybe you want me to take this shirt off after saying this. No, I don't. KFordRatings.com. You go over there. They give Michigan State a 7% chance of victory. I got to say, that's kind of where I am right here. Maybe closer to 10%. You play this game 10 times, you're going to win one of them. There's a lot of factors going against Michigan State, many of them on the field, which we will talk about here for the next 20 or so minutes. And I got to say, not to already pull the excuse card, this is like the most minor detail in the list of why Michigan State is heavy underdogs. Boy, howdy, flying across 3 time zones and kicking this game off at 11 p.m. I was pretty pumped about it in the beginning, but as time has passed, I'm more and more salty about that. Anyway, guys, let's talk about how Michigan State can make this game not just close, but stay close enough heading into the fourth quarter and maybe pounce on the Trojans and fly home with what would be a program-changing victory. Now, what are we reasonably asking for from this team? Now, catch that. I just said reasonably. I'm not going to ask this team to go ahead and get 6 sacks on Saturday. You know, I'm not going to ask them to be someone that they couldn't even be against an FCS team. So, look, what can this team reasonably do? What have we already seen so far this season that could pop up in LA? Well, first off, can you run the ball? And I know that last week was not very inspiring running the ball, but we saw a strong game against Western. We saw what I thought was a decent game against Boston College, but can you do it even without Makai Frazier, your starting running back? Can you do it without one of your best interior offensive linemen, Luka Vincic, in the middle? Now, can this also be a game where a running back like Brandon Tullis is a little more advantageous to have being your leading ball carrier? And I know Makai Frazier, better numbers. He has better explosive runs for Michigan State. He's the starter for a reason. But Brandon Tullis, 5.9 yards per carry. He's a bowling ball of a runner. He's averaging 3.7-ish yards after contact per carry. Do you take the bigger guy? And look, this is not the dog on Makai Frazier. I think he's a good running back. Don't get me wrong. But when you're going up against a USC team that retooled their front 4, that has a really good front 7, that has been solid at stopping the run, I just don't know if Makai Frazier can outrun some of these guys, have the explosives. So do you rely more on a Brandon Tullis that can just get you consistent 4, 5 yards, lean, be physical on the defense that you're going up against to establish the run? Because, well, you're going to have to establish some sort of a run game here because, well, first of all, hey, established drives, that means you have the ball longer. And that means USC, a team that roughly has what seems like 27 possessions per game, they don't have the ball often. USC is a team that is going to try to beat teams by being the first team to 30, 35, 40 points. One great way to do that is just by having the ball more. I know, seems so simple, right? But you also stay on schedule when you have a decent run game. You avoid third and longs against this USC defense that leads the nation in sacks. You don't want to get into a passing down situation against the Trojans, who, again, we talked about this in the offseason with Locked on USC. They retooled their front to get more aggressive on the front lines here, and it's paying off in spades so far. And can you actually give Aidan Chiles a chance to, run some play action here? Because he's been dynamite in play action so far. 74% completion. 5 of his 6 touchdown passes have been on play action. And just to go to the previous point, let's help our guy Aidan Chiles a little bit. Stay on schedule. Let's get 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 4s. So he doesn't have to do, which has been awesome to watch against Youngstown and Boston College, but I'm just not sure if he could pirouette out of 2 sacks and run 20 yards downfield on 3rd and 12s. I'm not sure how sustainable of an offense that is. So the run game has to get going, and you also have to stop USC's run game. Now, this is something that we've seen so far, not just this year, but also last year too. Michigan State was pretty solid at stopping the run, and they're going to have to be, because USC, they have 23 runs that have gone at least 10 yards. That leads the conference. Now, on the contrary, Michigan State, our Spartans, for 10-plus yard runs given up, they only have 3 of those. That also leads the Big Ten. So someone here is going to win. Someone here is going to prove that they are a really real unit and haven't just, gone off the laurels of playing a not-so-competitive schedule to start their season. Now, USC, they have a stuff rate of 11% on offense. Okay, so what that means is that 11% of their runs are stopped at or behind the line of scrimmage. Just 11% on offense. That's incredible. That is very, very good. Now, Michigan State, they're also stuffing teams. That's right. Their defense is doing good at stuff rate of 28%. So true, someone's going to come out here feeling really good about themselves and just feeling like they've validated everything they've done. The 3 previous games against them, again, not the greatest competition. But again, MSU, really good job at stopping the run. They also contain outside runs pretty well. Their edges, Jalen Thompson, David Santiago, and that's going to be paramount because USC, they do enjoy their outside runs. So can you put USC behind schedule? Can you make it 3rd and long for them too? Sure hope so. Make them a little one-dimensional on offense. Easier said than done, but Michigan State's run defense, okay, they're going to have to do it if they want to shot this game. Now let's talk about the man, the myth, the legend, the guy who's just been spectacular so far this year, Aidan Chiles. Now, can he be Superman without doing too much? 4th game of the season, in his 2nd year starting, it has to look a lot different than the 4th game starting last year, which was against Boston College, when he probably had the same mindset going into that game. Or, okay, I don't have any receivers against Boston College. I'm going to have to do everything. We can't run the ball for a lick. Now, things are different this time around. He certainly does have receivers. We expect Nick Marsh to play in this game. But still, I think he understands. I think this offense understands that in order to win this game, 30, 35 points is the bare minimum of what you need. So can you continue to be great at protecting the ball, Aidan Chiles? So far this season, just 1 interception. I don't even really blame him all too much for that one. That really could have used some good pass protection on that play action. But nevertheless, 3 turnover-worthy passes so far from Aidan Chiles. Not too shabby. Okay, that is a far cry from where he was to start last year. Now with his legs, that's got to be a part of the game too. He has 8 10-plus yard runs. That is amongst the best in the country for quarterbacks. He has 4 15-plus yard runs, and he has 9 missed tackles forced. Those last 2 I just read, especially the 9 missed tackles forced, that's the best in the Big Ten amongst quarterbacks, guys. He's dynamic with his legs. He's going to have to continue to be because, guys, this would be a program-changing win. I don't think that's any exaggeration. I don't even think Michigan State fans would put up much of a fight with that. This would be echoes of what happened in 2021 on the road at Miami. No one's really expecting you to win, although that spread, I think, was closer to 8 points, not 18 points. But still, doesn't matter how good Miami turned out to be at the end of the season. It's not going to matter how good USC turned out to be at the end of this season, which, by the way, I think they'll be fine. You beat a brand name. You beat it in tough road environments like Miami was a skrillion degrees there. You're going out to USC. Never easy for any Big Ten team to travel that far. You all know the qualms about the kickoff time. If you come back here with a win, that's going to buck a lot of trends that we've had here in the last few years. So before we go any further, let's talk about the last few years because MSU in top 25 games, they are 1-10 in the last 3 years. The average margin of defeat in those games, 31.9 points. The closest game in those losses was a 19-point loss to Penn State a few years ago. Guys, I think it's unfair to demand a win from this team, but I think it's perfectly reasonable to expect and, require to, hey, be competitive out there. Don't make this a blowout. Don't make me fall asleep at halftime because, well, oh my God, it's already 12:30 and I got to get to snoozing. Keep this close. Show that you've made strides as a program. Again, it's going to be a little tough. We're going to talk about why it's going to be so tough here in a hot segment. First, you need to talk your ears off about Mazda. That is right, guys. Our good friends over at Mazda, well, they want to move the game forward. So let's move the game forward. Those that just don't believe it's about playing time, it's about redefining it. These are the moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, they move culture, and they keep the game moving forward. Just like last week, if I could just point out a specific play, Omari Kelly, dynamite punt return. Just further, just put that axe into the Penguins and let them know that, yes, that's right. This is a group of 4 team. I know you guys want to keep it close for a little bit, but yeah, we're going to just have a dynamic punt return for the first time in what seems like forever here in East Lansing. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. It's Mazda. Move and be moved. Guys, also Wayfair. That's right. The weather's cooling down. Days are getting shorter. And that has me wanting to make my home feel even cozier. So when it's time to cozify your space this fall, Wayfair is the place to go. Wayfair is everything you need to set the mood for the season, whether it's comfy recliners, warm bedding, autumn decor, or hey, why not an espresso machine so you can make your favorite latte at home? Or if you're going to be like me, hey, with 2 boys that have more toys than, my God, Toys R Us did back in the day, you're going to want some storage solutions to make your indoor space more friendly for when you start to play inside a little bit more. Cozify your space with Wayfair's curated collection of easy, affordable fall updates. From comfy recliners to cozy bedding to autumn decor, you'll find everything you need for way less at wayfair.com. That's WAYFAIR.com. It's Wayfair, every style, every home. All right, before we're going full fear factor here and talking about why USC is so good, why they're 18-point favorites in this game, and it's really why I think it's like, 7-10% chance of a Michigan State victory. I do also want to be clear. Like, I do expect this game to be somewhat close. I know the spread's out to 18.5. I'll have to actually see what this game looks like. Hey, does Michigan State, they only lose by 14, but they covered late with 2 late touchdowns, or hey, were they hanging on the entire game, but USC punched in, 2 late scores, a touchdown or a field goal. I'm not going to put hey, they must lose by X or they must keep it close this long. This should be a game where you do show strides. Yes, USC is a good team. We're about to spend a lot of time just shining their whistle here for a little bit. But, I mean, this isn't going to Autzen Stadium to play number 1 Oregon 6 days after playing Ohio State like last year. Those teams seemed immortal back in the day. This team is just a really good team. And in year 2 of a rebuild, I do expect you to be competitive at least somewhat against really good teams, no matter the conditions that you have to face on the road. So, guys, what is USC good at? Well, they're good at offense and they're good at defense. How about that for you? You like that for some hard-hitting analysis? No, we'll give you guys some stats here. We'll add some context to that, too. There's a stat out there. It's called points per opportunity. That's the average amount of points that you are getting when you cross the other team's 40-yard line. So it's the red zone, but extended by 20 yards. Okay, how well are you scoring? How efficient have you been? Well, USC, whenever they've crossed the other team's 40-yard line, 5.6 points per drive. That is not too shabby. Now, I will say, of course, it hasn't been, an NFC North schedule for USC. It has been Missouri State. It has been Georgia Southern, and then on the road to play Purdue. So, just like Michigan State, let's call ourselves out too. It hasn't just been the nastiest stretch of 3 games to start the year, so maybe it's a little inflated by that. But this is where I also get spooked because let's go back to talking about ourselves here. This is all coming off of a week for us Michigan State fans where we just saw Youngstown State quarterback Bo Brungard throw for his 3rd most passing yards in his career. That is a run-first FCS quarterback who plays other FCS teams, having his 3rd most passing yards in a game against your defense. And that is 2 weeks after, well, Michigan State just saw Dylan Lonergan, who I think is a fine quarterback still, even though they lost to Stanford. That doesn't take away what I think of Dylan Lonergan. But still, you shouldn't be throwing for 390 yards against any defense on the road, and that is exactly what he did against Michigan State. So, yeah, Yeah, I'm a little spooked about this USC offense, guys. Michigan State in the pass defense. We're going to go back to 10-plus yard plays, but this time 10-plus yard plays through the air. Michigan State has allowed 29 of those so far this season. That is 108th in the nation. That is second worst in the Big Ten. Stay tuned for who the worst team in the Big Ten in that stat is, actually. But let's just keep going on about USC's offense. They lead the Big Ten in rushing 6.99 yards per carry. They have a guy by the name of Makai Lemon. If you haven't seen that guy play, don't blink or you're going to miss him. He's fourth in the Big Ten in receptions right now. He's second in receiving yards. 5'11", not physically imposing whatsoever, but don't tell him that because he plays like a big receiver, man. Yeah, he's scary, and I just don't know how this team covers him. I don't know how they get to the quarterback in time to stop these deep crossing routes. Should they send Makai Lemon out on a few of those? That's going to be a tough assignment here, guys. And look, it doesn't get any better when you read that USC's offensive line has allowed just 14 pressures so far this season. Just like how they've retooled their defensive front in the transfer portal, they added 2 big offensive line transfers in the cycle too, and it appears to be paying off in spades for them. Against the pass rush over here at Michigan State that I'm not necessarily inspired by, that's going to be a tough cookie to crack there. Just one more thing about their offensive line. When it comes to running the ball, their offensive line is averaging 3.8 line yards per rush. That's essentially saying how long are you getting before your running backs hit. 3.8 yards before your running backs even touched. Oh my God. Boy, howdy gee willikers, guys. So what does MSU need to do here? Like, what do they need to do to vault over this offense? Yeah, obviously rush the passer. I'm trying to stay reasonable here. Go ahead. Prove me wrong. I'd love to have this clipped and be like, oh, look at this idiot. He had no faith in our pass rush. But, hey, we got 4 sacks. We got about, 13 hurries on him. Whatever it is, I just don't see it happening. Michigan State needs to tighten up the tackling, though, guys. 25 missed tackles so far this season, according to Pro Football Focus. That is in the lower third of Big Ten play. It's not quite as bad as UCLA and Northwestern, who lead with 41 missed tackles. God, how is that possible? But still, 25 missed tackles, that's a little bit too much, especially with Wayman Jordan, Makai Lemon. Going to want to bring those guys down as soon as you humanly can. And again, Michigan State just needs to get to the quarterback. They just have 6 sacks so far this season. Now, USC on defense. Hey, remember we were talking about points per opportunity, how many times you scoring when you get across the 40 or how many points you averaging? Their defensive points per opportunity, what they're holding teams to when they cross the 40, is 1.9 points. Again, I think it's important to reiterate, we're talking Missouri State, we're talking Georgia Southern, we're talking Purdue. And Purdue had some interception issues too in the red zone, but I digress. We'll move it on forward here. They also lead the country with 14 sacks. Okay, they are second. They're second in the Big Ten in tackles for loss with 31 tackles for loss. So what does Michigan State need to do here? Well, hey, you guys remember when I said Michigan State was second to last in the Big Ten at giving up passing plays that go at least 10 yards? USC is the only team worse in the Big Ten. They have given up 32 such plays. So even against these lower-end FCS teams, or Georgia Southern, I know it's not FCS, and I apologize, but you certainly play like one so far this year. I know that there's a lot of situations where these teams are probably passing the ball late. Maybe that skews the numbers a little bit. But you go back to our chat with Mark Culkin of Locked on USC. We asked for what the vulnerability of this team is. He said it is the secondary. Look, Michigan State has the weapons. They have Nick Marsh. They have Omari Kelly. They have Rod Bullard, who's shining. Krishan McCray. They have tight ends that they can utilize in the pass game. You're going to need to see the run game get cemented into this game first before you can start opening that up fully. But, hey, they have the dogs to do it. Can you? Absolutely you can. This is going to be as real of a test as you will find so far this season. So, yeah, if there's one thing that I'm more hopeful with, can the offense crack USC's defense? Can USC's offense crumble under Michigan State's defense? What am I more hopeful in? I think it goes without saying, Michigan State's offense against USC's defense. But again, still really good. Great at pressuring the quarterback. They have really limited teams inside the red zone and extended, but Michigan State, this is where it's going to be here. Guys, look, what takeaways can we get from this game? Because I think it's unfair to just demand a win or Jonathan Smith should be fired. when we do this post-game show in the wee hours of Saturday night or Sunday morning, I'm not going to be thrilled if they lose this game in the moment, but can this be a game where Monday rolls around, Tuesday rolls around, and you realize that, okay, hey, Chiles still actually played really steady in a game where a lot was on his shoulders? Sure, like you can just, put that as a notch in his belt, as another step forward in his progression. Like, can you actually protect Aidan Chiles too? Because this is going to be a big litmus test for pass protection. It wasn't great against Boston College. It got better against Youngstown State, but that was an FCS team that rushed a lot of three-man fronts to the quarterback. So look, we'll have to see what it looks like. Can the coaching staff actually coach within a 2-minute warning adequately? That'd be nice to see for once, but yeah, guys, we're going to have to see here. I don't know. I'm not hopeful to win, but I'm hopeful to see progress here. I hope I'm not asking too much. All right, guys, need to talk your ears off really quick about Square. Now, your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home, whether it's the local sports bar packed on game days, the coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or the corner deli that's been serving your community for decades. These are the places that are bringing people together. And when neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives, guys. Just to name a few that are in the Lansing area. Hey, Bill's Fireworks, for example, Taste of Thai, Flower Child, Ponder Coffee Company, Foster Company Coffee. Guys, they all are partnered with Square. And guys, when neighborhood businesses thrive, well, that is when the community thrives. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/LockedOnCollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy that you did it. It's Square. We will see you in the neighborhood. Also, guys, DoorDash, because yes, they're saving you money every single Saturday. And hey, before we look back on this week's Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash, just know you save every time you order. And these players are the ones that delivered the most. Let's break it down for who is the MVP on DoorDash. Who delivered? And I got to go Nick Marsh. It's just that easy for last week's game. 94 yards, didn't even play a full half of football, and cemented his footprints in that game. I felt so bad for the corners and the safeties for Youngstown State. It truly looked like a full-grown man against children out there. But guys, hey, what else can we expect out of Nick Marsh? This is what he does. And just like Nick Marsh delivers for the Michigan State Spartans, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order, stack it all up all season long, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Feel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period goes through November 18th. Now let's head over to the basketball court here before getting to 5 best bets, because yes, on this blessed Thursday, the rest of the schedule came out for our Michigan State Spartans. How fun is that? We already knew the non-conference schedule, talked about that last week. So really quick, let's go through the Big Ten schedule. I'm not going to say every date and tip-off time, but just grab your legal pad, grab your pen. We're going to jot everything down as soon as we can. We open up December 2nd against Iowa. That is your Big Ten opener. Then it's at Nebraska, and then that little non-conference portion of the schedule comes back into our lives. Then we restart in the new year with more Big Ten basketball at Nebraska. Then it's home with 3 straight home games: USC, Northwestern, Indiana, and then January 17th and January 20th, that is your West Coast swing. This year, it's going to be Washington first and then Oregon. Then you're back home against Maryland. Then you're at Rutgers. Then it's home against Michigan on January 30th. And would you look at that Friday night? That's right. That's Tom Izzo's birthday. And then you go to Minnesota. Then it's home against Illinois the following Saturday. It's at Wisconsin after a 6-day break after that Illinois game. And then February 17th, mark it down. That's right. It is the Xavier Booker reunion against UCLA. And then Ohio State at home. And then a pair of road games in Indiana. The first one at Purdue. The second one at Indiana. Then it's home against Rutgers. And then your finale, that's right, at Michigan. And if tradition rings true over there, that's going to be cool for us Michigan State fans, because they celebrate $8 ticket senior night. Go back last year when they were still in the Big Ten chase, their senior night, there were tickets going for as low as $5 on the secondary market for that. Definitely 100% not bandwagon, but rather passionate fan base over in Ann Arbor. Please. Anyway, that's what we're ending with, guys. So instant thoughts on the schedule. Not bad, actually. Dare I say good? That's probably a good shake for Michigan State, I got to say. Look, your home and home teams that you get Michigan, Indiana, Rutgers, all the other ones you just faced once, whether that's home or on the road. But I really like having Illinois at home. I really like having UCLA at home. And yes, I do like that we split with Michigan, who's going to be a fine team. The only true road-only bummer right now on paper is Purdue. Like, that's kind of a scheduled loss right there. I'm sorry to be so negative, but I don't really foresee going into Mackey Arena ever and expecting a win. Certainly don't with this strong of a Purdue team. But, hey, I mean, you can do a lot worse on your schedule, because what I like to do when the schedules come out is, like, what's your gauntlet? Like, what's the worst 3-4 game stretch that you do have? And I think it is the end of the season when you got to go to Purdue, you got to go to Indiana, then you have Rutgers at home, and then you got to go to Michigan. We've seen a lot of worse gauntlets, right? Like, let's go back to last year. It was at Illinois, home against Purdue, at Michigan, at Maryland, all within 11 days. Now, Michigan State, I got to say, they fared pretty well in those games, but my God, that was a murderer's row of games set up for them last year. I can't believe they went 4-0 in that stretch. What a special year that was. Oh, my God. Now, look, what other things I like a lot. Iowa being the opener for Big Ten play. And that's not to say that Iowa's some walkover team. I think Ben McCollum's going to have that team cooking early on, but still, it's not Purdue coming to town, or it's not going to Purdue to open up Big Ten play. It's not UCLA coming to town. Like, of all the teams you could pick and choose, Iowa would probably be one of the ones that I would like. But what I really enjoy about this is that last week when we were talking about the non-conference schedule, Thanksgiving, yeah, North Carolina, 9 days later, Duke. In between that is when the Big Ten was going to schedule your opener, maybe even 2 games. They could have hit you with a Monday, Thursday opener. But no, it's just 1 game between the North Carolina and Duke game. It's a manageable one. It's at home. I'm a big fan of that because, well, when you sandwich 2 games when you sandwich a game between North Carolina and Duke, it can get really hairy. Those are going to be 2 really, really tough games. And Iowa will still be a tough game, don't get us wrong, but it could have been, a whole lot worse. And let's not mistake ourselves here. This is already going to be a tough schedule. For those that I forgot, we play Kentucky, we play Arkansas, we play North Carolina, we play Duke. Those are all teams in the top 25 on BartTorvik.com. So one other thing I'd like to do, too, when the schedule comes out is try to predict where will the annoying loss come from. Like, what is going to be the loss that is just going to be a thorn in our sides? Last year, it was the home game against Indiana's 10-point favorites. That was not a fun one. I'm going to go on the road here. I'm going to say the annoying loss is going to come Tuesday night in Piscataway after a nice, hype Saturday night win at home against Maryland. But, yeah, that's going to be the one. That's going to be the one we're going to sit back and wonder what the hell just happened. Now, another side note, and I don't like this, actually. All 18 Big Ten teams are going to be in the Big Ten tournament this year. If you remembered last year, if you were 16, 17, or 18th in the conference, your season ended. And I kind of like that, actually. Like, I think games should actually matter. Sure, I guess, I'm not saying like, oh, and now you give this team a shot that finished 18th to win the Big Ten tournament. No, like 16, 17, 18, like they'll never win the Big Ten tournament. I can comfortably say that. That is way too many games in a few amount of days. But still, I just like incentivizing, the top 15 or actually having important games for those teams to play at the end of the season. But instead, who cares if they win or lose, in February? They're going to get in the tournament anyway. So whatever. Maybe I'm just an old man yelling at a cloud right now. Guys, before we get you into your weekend, let's try to make some money on 5 best bets. Now, we did go in the positive last week. Okay, so that's 2 weeks in the positive, but there was 1 very in the negative here. So overall, our record is 7-8. Last week's record, 3-2. Now, last week, let's just go through it again. Georgia Tech versus Clemson, under 51.5. Thankful that field goal went in. We staved off overtime. Tennessee plus 4.5 against Georgia. And then Utah versus Wyoming. Jay Johnson, the gift that keeps on giving. Under 47.5 was never a single doubt in that one. Now, look, as good as we felt about those 3 wins, I have to put my hand up and out myself here. Under 49.5 for Notre Dame versus Texas A&M. Yeah, that was a bad enough pick enough. But my reason for that pick is saying, yes, Texas A&M, Marcel Reed, he's very exciting at quarterback, but he can also be quite turbulent at quarterback. I think it's going to be a shaky game for him. Not at all. We misread the heck out of that one. And then Florida plus 7.5 against LSU. I feel like I really showed my work there. I really feel like I should be credited with the win, but I did not foresee 5 interceptions by DJ Lagway being thrown in that one. God, the Florida defense, they did their job. Anyway, enough about that. Let's move forward into this week's picks, guys. It is going to be Texas Tech plus 3.5 at Utah. I do love what the Red Raiders have been doing so far this season. And yes, Utah is a scary place to play, but I think Texas Tech and all the work that they did in the portal is going to fully materialize there. Indiana, minus 6.5 against top 20 Illinois, which, by the way, this is 100% where College Game Day should be. I think they lost all their credibility, as if they didn't lose enough when Lee Corso finally left the show, and he should have. But picking Miami versus Florida instead of Indiana, Illinois, that strips away what College Game Day has ever meant, and I will be hard-pressed to tune into that show the rest of the season. That's how upset I am about that decision. That is completely bizarre, and God, what a corporate shill of a decision that was. Anyway, Indiana minus 6.5. I love, oddly enough, for as much as I love Kurt Cignetti and his offense, their trenches on defense looking pretty good so far this season, guys. We're going to go Oklahoma minus 6.5 against Auburn. Like John Mateer, and I actually like Oklahoma's defense a lot in this one, and what a nice start for the home schedule for all those Oklahoma Sooners fans. My goodness gracious. And then, guys, Miami. I'm going to go minus 8.5 against Florida. That's how jaded I was watching DJ Lagway last week. I think that there's going to be maybe potentially a quit factor in Florida creeping up on them this weekend. So, yes, I like Miami and the Canes, minus 8.5. And then for the Michigan State USC game, I did a piece over at Spartans Illustrated, 3-2-1 preview. I always do it. My one best bet was under 56.5. Since writing that, and since I'm talking into this microphone, it's gone down to 54.5. And that's not to say that 2 points is like something seismic. But I'm going to change my pick. I'm going to go over 54.5. Can I see USC getting their team total of 37? Yes. Can I see them getting upwards of 40 points in this game? Yeah, I can. But can I see Michigan State also getting just at least 15 points? Yeah. Can I see Michigan State scoring 20 points and having USC only score 35 points? Yes, I can. I think there's going to be a lot of offense in this game, way into the night. So that's what I'm going to go with, over 54.5. So just to reiterate, guys, Texas Tech plus 3.5, Indiana minus 6.5, Oklahoma minus 6.5, Miami minus 8.5, and then over 54.5. For USC versus Michigan State, guys, we will be talking about that game. That's right. We will be on this show here, whether it's 2:33, whenever the game ends. We'll be doing it live because that's what we do. We hop on this little mic, this little webcam here as soon as we possibly can after games. So that's right. It's one of my son's birthdays the next day. He's going to be getting dad on about an hour and a half of sleep. Boys, that could be fun. All right, guys. Hey, speaking of fun, hope you guys have a great and fun weekend. Let's all have a great time leading up until kickoff. Let's mix in a coffee. Let's mix in a water. Let's mix in a whole lot of fun. Cannot wait to see all your beautiful faces Saturday, 2:30-ish, 3-ish, whatever it's going to be. Love you all, guys. Go Green.